Okay, on that score, is it tantamount upon you to give the customer sufficient information as regards providing effective or efficient KYC, as you put it, so that they know from beforehand that these are some of the expectations that you require, correspondent banks require, in order to to minimize risk.
Well, the basic thing is to make sure that we identify the customer who says who he is, and the basic, I mean, the identity, the certain documents which you take. So when the customer comes to register, we will say, please provide these documents.
Yeah.
It's not very onerous kind of document, just basic documents to make sure the person who is in front of us is the person who says he is. Mm-hmm. And the underlying transaction is what the transaction he says it is.
Okay. Especially small business, because what we have found is that, you know, especially SMEs, small business, people now starting up doing another banking transaction. Sometimes they find these requests not onerous, but they want to get a little more information on expectations. Yeah, and that is really the core of the question. Is it something? I'm sure you have ongoing information forums where you could get SMEs. I'm sure we would talk about that going in the future and engage them and say, okay, if you're doing business, these are the sort of things you need to, you know, to have in place, which makes your job easier and the client is more informed. And of course, with the regulators at the end of the day, will be less nervous, because they know that you are kind of the right sort of checks and balances and systems to ensure that everything remains kosher.
The documents which we require from any SME or an individual is no different from that from those documents which they will provide to their bankers. Period. So there is not onerous documents. It will, I mean, if you go to open an account, what documents would you need? You wouldn't ask anything more than that.
Okay. Now, taking the conversation a bit further now, you deal with SMEs on a large scale, you know, globally and of course in the Caribbean. So this is a good opportunity to tap from you do's and don'ts, and of course some of the pitfalls that you have seen some of these SMEs, particularly in our diaspora, Leonard, who struggle for a number of reasons, and transactional as part of also how they structure the business, and of course banking and finance is a critical part of it, the critical part of any business success. What sort of we want you to give have some takeaways here. What sort of items of failures you see coming up in front of you on a continuous basis that you can share with potential small business that can minimize failure going forward?
Well, I can relate to some of the problems with regard to money transfer to Jamaica. I cannot at this moment tell you
oh, Leonard's frozen.
Yes.
He's moving slowly.
From London to Birmingham to Leeds. But most of the SMEs which we deal with are those customers who bring import stuff, fruit stuff and other things from Jamaica and who have to make payments. Yes. So in that aspect, what happens is instantaneous. So if a customer comes and wants to get down a key or something, they come in the morning and make the payment through us in the morning, and the money is with the supplier instantaneously. Right. So if he makes the order and makes the payment today, the supplier can ship the goods at the same time, the same flight commercial bank or anybody can offer, because it takes a couple of days.
Okay.
And it's cheaper to send to to send money, because as you know, we only send money to our NCD customers. So they know that once the money is come, money has been sent to us, the money will be in goods. In UK, that's a different matter altogether, because SMEs, the problems which SMEs face is no different from in London that from in Kingston. Different conversation altogether. How they keep books, how they business continuity, how they take facilities. All those things matter because SMEs are not sophisticated employers or businessmen. So that's a different discussion. We will not be able to touch today.
Yeah.
But as far as money transfer is concerned, if any customer wants to say import stuff from Jamaica, I think we offer the best way forward. And this is a positive on their cash flow, because they don't have to block their cash flow for a couple of days.
Okay. So as far as you're concerned, this whole issue that has been raised and been spoken highly about in the media and by prime ministers and finance guru is all more scaremongering, scare tactics, is it?
It's not. No. I don't want to downplay that, but there are probably institutions which have been affected, which has large clienteles. So I'm sure there are institutions which have been affected, and that those institutions rightly are making their position known. But to say that because of these measures taken by these correspondent banks, that the entire economy of some of these countries are going under the sea, no, that will not happen.